All right. Well, today, well, actually, this morning was supposed to be the last of the rain that we're supposed to get until, at least as of right now, next Sunday. So hopefully that holds true. This whole week's been kind of a shit show with projects. I got all the wood for this prepped and ready to paint. It's got 5 coats of linseed oil on it. Then after the 5th coat, I took the side that's getting paint, I lacquer thinned it, and then sanded it again, just like I've read. So the wood is ready for paint. Problem I ran into is, apparently, I did not know this, oil-based paint has gone the way of the dodo, and finding it is kind of difficult. It's still around, but finding anybody that knows what the hell they're talking about seems to be a problem. Because I've tried 2 different Sherwin-Williams stores, and I've tried a Benjamin Moore store, and none of them even knew what the hell I was talking about. I thought I struck gold at our little local hardware store because he had 3 different kinds of oil-based paint. And he said, yeah, we can color match it for you. But unfortunately, he does not have a, like the little machine you stick your paint chip in and it looks at the color and tells you what it does. He doesn't have that machine. We tried matching it off of a number, and Martin Sr. 4977 does not pop up in his system, so we couldn't match it that way, and we couldn't come up with a color swatch close enough for him to just mix it with something he already had. So my uncle works for an Ace that is a Benjamin Moore dealer, and I took him a stir stick with the color on it, and they have some oil-based stuff, so he's going to try to match it tomorrow. So hopefully I can come up with some damn paint. I did not think that the paint was going to be the hard part to come up with for the wood. It's got to be oil-based now that I linseed oiled it. So the equipment enamel that I used on the wheels ain't going to work. But, so the wood is still up in the air. And then I've been trying to get the water pump put in Dad's grain truck, and that turned into a fiasco. Because the lower radiator hose that Dad bought that's molded to fit does not fit because it was cut wrong, near as we can tell. So still waiting on that, but push come to shove, hopefully by Tuesday it's dry enough to cut wheat. If nothing else, I'll throw the old lower radiator hose back on it, and which is still in halfway decent shape, and we'll run it and change the radiator hose later. So, but so far that water pump's been a 3-day project. I didn't work on it at all yesterday, and I started on it Tuesday. I started on it Tuesday, so I worked on it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and it still ain't done yet. So anyway, and then I spent all morning, I went down, I got 6 balls of baler twine, and then spent 2 hours after that running around the paint stores trying to find this paint, hoping to be able to paint today. Well, that's not working, so we're back to doing some metal work on it today. I got the frame power washed. I got the gearbox power washed. I power washed all the beater bars. All the parts I have off of it except the web chains. I wasn't going to drag that thing all the way out. Everything's power washed for it. And I actually found after I blew off some of the fuzzy rust, there's still some orange paint on the old girl. Surprisingly, you couldn't see that before because it was just so scuzzy. But what I got to do is get the slack adjusters for the web chain off, and possibly these stub shafts that the sprockets turn on are wore, and I'm sure the sprockets wore some. So gonna possibly have to see what I can do about boring the sprocket to true it up, and then putting a bigger pin in it, and then put new bolts in it, clean those threads up so that those are all free. Need to take the jack off and take it apart and straighten it out, because right now the whole thing is leaned over into the PTO shaft, and when you're running the jack when you run it down and you get it all the way down, it rocks the handle back, and the handle's pushed over far enough that you smack your hand on the quadrant for your feed rate adjustment. So need to take all that off and get it pulled or straightened out and back over here where it belongs. And there's a crack over there in the frame that's been goober welded. I want to fix that and put a shoe on the jack arms, which in the book, it's like a formed piece of sheet metal that's kind of comes down, and it's got like an angle like this, and then it comes back up, and then it's got a 90 on it that's comes flat and is welded across here. I'm just going to take a piece of pipe, and if we have a piece, and cut it in half, and because I'm not going to try to, short of finding a spreader with a parts jack to cut it off of, I'm not going to try to match that. So it's a working restoration, not a numbers correct restoration. And if I didn't tell you, you'd never know the difference unless you sat two spreaders next to each other. So anyway, first things first, I'm going to get these slack adjusters off and see what we got to do there. I think before I do anything, I'm probably going to chase these threads because I want to save those studs, so I got to get that nut run off, but the threads are a little goobered up, so I'll try to chase some threads and clean them up so that the nuts come off okay. It always makes life easier when they just shear right off, huh? Ooh, that's crusty. That's crusty. Okay, so I got them both off. The wear is obviously a combination of the hole in the sprockets and the pins. They were originally half, but there's almost enough meat wore out of these things to go up to 3/4, so I'll just have to put them in the lathe and clean them up a little, or try my best. There's not really a good way to get on them and run them true, but so clean these guys up so that they'll run on a 3/4 shaft. Cut the pins out of here. This one's actually bent fairly significantly. Cut the pins out. Probably have to punch the holes out a little bigger to accept the bigger rod, and I think there's enough meat in here I can actually cross drill it and put a grease zerk in the end of it, so these are greasable so that they don't wear as fast this time. I ain't going nowhere. Well, there they be. I ended up having to go bigger than 3/4 to get the hole in the sprocket trued up. It was bell shaped, and you run a 3/4 through there, and it was still belled out on the more worn out side. So I ended up having to punch it 13/64, I think is what it ended up as, to actually get it clean, and then I had to custom make some pins out of 1-inch round stock. But had to scrap the grease zerk idea because I kind of forgot it's kind of hard to punch a grease zerk in a pin that's got a cotter pin hole in it. Unless I would have offset drilled it, but then you're getting pretty damn complicated for all that it is. So, and then you're making a weak spot in it. And I thought about going in from this side and drilling through, but then you're taking the potential of making a really bad weak spot through here where you weld on it. And it's lasted 50 years the way it is. It ought to last another 50 more for a little bit I'm going to be using it. So, and I'd thought about, because there is enough meat, I thought about coming in here in the hub of the sprocket and punching in and putting a grease zerk in, but the web chain is so wide that you would never be able to get a grease gun on it. So we're just going to put her back the way she was and send it. I think at some point I might end up having to remake these brackets because they're chewed out back here from the rust, but they'll get the job done for now. So anyway, put them back together and probably start dinking with the jack. Alright, the sprockets are back in. I did notice when I was putting them back in on both sides, in between where the angle bracket meets the frame's a little ate out. So what I'm probably going to have to do when I go through to do this thing up right on the next go around of fix it and paint it, you're going to have to roll the thing over on its back so that I can do a good job and go in here and clean this up real good. And probably from the front back into, probably at least back into here somewhere, like 12 inches. Get a piece of flat stock and punch those bolt holes in it and lay a piece of flat stock under there and stitch weld it in to help back that frame up so it doesn't crack right here. It's not like it's a super serious, I need to fix it right now deal, but when I go to do this thing right and get the frame straightened out and get all the rest of the isms that I'm finding worked out with it, need to do that. But I want to be able to roll it over so that A, I can clean it real good, and B, I can weld it good, because upside down welding, you can do it, but it sucks. So, got that. But next project is probably going to be to dink with this jack. So, it's going to be fun getting it apart. That bottom weld, or that bottom thread is, or is that a, well, ain't no more. But gonna have to pull this cotter pin, run the screw out so that we can get this off, because this thing is racked. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to straighten that. And this needs to come off, however that works. Ooh, that might not be a fun deal, because this pin slides in that tube. Oh, you dirty bastards. Because I got to get this off, because these things are all waffled up and bent to hell, and your arm that lets the foot down does not like to slide through there. So I need to straighten all this out, but if that pin is stuck in there, that's going to be a tough row to hoe. Okay, I moved outside, so I got a little bit more room to work. So as it would turn out upon further inspection, this frame is not racked like I thought it was. It would appear that right here where the cross tube is welded into the frame is tweaked, because there's nothing on the back side. Literally the only thing supporting that is that weld right there, and then you got this much pipe hanging over here. So if they bumped it right here somehow, it could have went yank. But we got to get it pulled away from the shaft. So gonna take the torch, put a little heat right here, and hopefully just be able to pull out on it and straighten it back up. And then this guy, I noticed you're never getting it apart, because right here, I don't know how well it'll show up on the camera, probably not at all, there's a bow and it's bowed up right here. So you're never going to get that pin out of there. Basically the only way to fix it is going to be to cut. Oh, them bastards welded that all the way around. That's not going to be fun. But gonna have to cut this weld, drive that tube out of there, pin and all, and just weld a new tube in and make a new pin. That's the only way you're ever gonna fix that, because you're never, with that bend in there, you're never driving that pin out. With between the bend and the rust, it ain't happening. So anyway, get the torch fired up and do a little tweaking here, eh? Okay, I got a bottle jack right here putting pressure up on the corner. So try heating it again and see if it'll come over on its own. There it went. Hopefully it wasn't too far. Might have been too far. Alright, it took a little bit more finagling. Basically, well, surprisingly, after I put all that heat into it, well, I guess not super surprisingly, but a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. I put that heat into it, even though I wasn't heating directly on the pipe, and I was able to drive that pin out. So I got the pin out, got the H-frame off, and I had tweaked it out too far a little bit. Well, once I got everything out of the way, I was able to take our big tire iron without any heat and wedge it in between the frame and the pipe over here, and I was able to pry it back over. And there's not really a whole lot to judge it off of. It might still be out just a tweak, but I think if you sight it off of that angle iron over there, it's pretty damn close. So I'm gonna go with it. It's puckered, the frame is puckered here just a little bit, but all in all, not that bad. But as you can see now, oh, and the other thing that tells me it's fairly decent is if you look in line with the pinhole, the hole for the bottom of the jack screw, it's right in line with this. So we're good there. But now, as you can see, the pitman arm is from right here out is all right. So we gotta, for now, I am just going to attempt to fix it here on the frame, because we don't have any round stock that size to make a new pin. So I was just going to cut that pin out, get it all off of there, cut that tube out real quick, weld a new tube in and make a new pin, but we don't have the right size round stock for the pin. So that's basically where I'm at for now. My hopes are Actually, hold on here. Let me move some stuff real quick. Okay, so this isn't going to be as hard as I thought. So the way this is built, this side is welded solid to the cross tube. This side just floats on the cross tube, and the only thing tying this to this is the pins that are supposed to be in your trunnion, and this bolt right here that keeps the lower jack stand from falling out of it. So all of the bend is actually right here. This side is still straight for the most part, and then it's got this kick out in it because it gets fat right here for the trunnion to go in. So if I get this side straightened out, this side should just come back over where it belongs. So if I do a little heating right here, pull that out straight, and then do a little heating right here, pull that out straight, and then there's supposed to be a bend right here because it kicks out, and then it kicks out and then does one of these deals. So need to put some heat here, put some heat here, pull this back out straight, and then hopefully this comes with it. Might have to get a crescent wrench because it needs to do one of these deals, it looks like. But now I don't. So there's going to be a bend here to go out and then a bend here to go back in. So I think that might have been the only bend, actually. And then I'm going to have to get that arm out of there and figure out what kind of voodoo we got going on down there in the back, because there's something still got this side pushed out. All right, took a little finagling, but the jack works pretty damn good now, and it's fairly straight, although it's a kind of tight, and I think it's because that bow in this pin has this whole linkage kind of pulled out and like out this way, kind of, because when you run it up and down, it's trying to go at an angle. So, but that can't be fixed until I can get the frame apart and get this out and yada yada yada. So, but it's not running into the PTO shaft anymore, and you can run it all the way up and down without the jack handle getting into the quadrant, so you don't smash your hand. So really all I got left to do to the jack, at least for the time being, to get it more user-friendly, is put that foot on there so that I can actually pick it all the way up off the tongue of the tractor. So go to see what we got for pipe. Well, there we go. I apologize, I had some video putting that together, but then after I got done, I realized my dumbass forgot to turn radio off in the shop, so I can't use it. Because YouTube don't like that shit, because they're gay. Anyway, that's the jack all sorted out. I Just ended up with a piece of 9-inch. We had a piece of 9-inch pipe. 10 would have been better. But just that's basically what the original one would have looked like, except the original one was a formed piece of steel that was probably only 10 gauge. It looks like sheet metal in the picture. Some heavy sheet metal, but this is a lot heavier. And then the original one came down. It was kind of flat here. Then it came back up, and then it had a 90 bend on it right here, and they butt welded it, or they welded it in like that. Well, I just took a piece of flat stock and made a gusset. So guarantee it's a lot heavier than the one that was on it. And now I can actually pick the spreader up off the drawbar of the tractor and still have jack left to work with. So just like it was meant to be that way. So with all that out of the way, really I can't do a damn other thing to it until I get the wood painted and back in it. And then after that, we can start putting the paraphernalia back on the outside. Teeter, what are you after? Goofball. So until I get my paint situation figured out, which hopefully my uncle will get back to me tomorrow with some good news, we're pretty much at a standing, or at a stopping point on this thing. So, which is fine, we got other stuff to do. But tomorrow I got to bring the combine over, do a couple odds and ends to it, because my bearing situation for the brake housings turned into a fiasco that we will talk about tomorrow in that video. So every project this week has been a fiasco. It's been nuts. So anyway, I gotta get this thing put back out, or put away, and get everything closed up, because I gotta go over to a dinner party. So I guess that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.